change out cycle, and I think those are all the things we need to be looking at, really. So,
I think one thing you could do as a counter is you gotta be careful on the high school level. You might want to have it based on teachers on when you're using the computers for an academic level, not just a counter, because I can very well tell you many times a day we go on the computer for nothing related to an academic purpose at all. I mean,
And I think that's something we probably want to, keep in mind too. That
Okay.
introducing.
Thanks. All your friends are going to be really happy.
Oh, we
Helen, go ahead and throw your
we
friends
find
under the
ways.
bus. It's all good.
Yeah, we always find our ways. Don't worry. We
Doug,
find our
correct
ways
me-
around them.
Be able to get on board.
We're going to have you locked down tomorrow.
His password's deactivated. No, thanks for that, though, Colin.
Okay.
And
there
then-
any other questions for Mr. Broward?
I got one thing. There was one part where we used iPod touches in economics. It wasn't provided by the class. It was more if the student had one, and you would. And this is pretty much a class of seniors, and Rivera know at a point in the senior year they just stopped trying, and but there was a point that it was a class that many people in the class weren't remotely interested, but it was a day where we used iPod touches, and there's an application for first class on there, and we were able to have a discussion that you would see up on the projector, and you had full class participation on a day, basically by using the iPods, and you could come the next day not using it, and you would see about 6 heads on the desk, not awake.
I got a question on that. How many kids had eye touches? How did that work?
It was like about 6 or 7. I was one of them, and you would share. We read a New York Times article, and then we would use the first class application, and through that you're able to go to a class link and then have a discussion. And you're able to comment in on that, and the whole class was commenting. Even though you would be sharing, somebody would keep posting as separate names or as a group, and it was full class participations in a class where you would have.
So what I understand is their first class, whoever the vendor is integrating the iTouch pretty heavily into the first class.
They just created an app for it.
Yeah, they created
They just have
an
an app for it.
application.
Okay.
So your point is that the technology kind of integrated the whole class with participating.
Yeah, you could say that. Therefore, technology allowed the curriculum to happen and students to actually be interested.
It's interesting.
Which
Yeah.
is positive.
Yeah.
That's a much
Well, I was just advising you on the counterpart that the data could be skewed.
No,
I mean,
but
you already knew that before I said it. Don't lie.
Helen, though, that speaks to my point, so I'll make it again, which is that the high school students tend to need a lot of the new technology more because their classes are more complex and they need to be drawn in more to keep it more interesting in their class. Right?
I don't know about the teachers, though. I wouldn't say necessarily that the high school teachers need technology. I think
Well, they do if they want to keep their students engaged.
There's some courses like math.
you don't always
It'd be
need
pretty hard.
technology to keep the students engaged, but you can. I think we would be well served to see what's going on in this class.
Oh, yeah.
Technology. Our best teachers using it at all levels.
Yeah.
Mr. Dare and Mr. Davis sat in on that, and they also participated. They're pretty interested in it. I mean, maybe it could be something that was like once or twice a week to keep students stimulated in the class, and then therefore still have the traditional teaching process. You can't have it full technology, try to keep some old.
With this generation, you have to use technology because that's their life.
Yeah.
This high school generation, everyone has a cell phone, everyone has an iPod, they have everything in their hands, and it's very hard as a classroom teacher to get them to remove that. So if you can use it to your advantage and get the class engaged, then the teacher needs to keep up with the technology so they can keep that class going because it's not changing, it's just getting better, it's getting worse.
That's a big challenge for teaching staff as well to keep up with the technology as well.
Well, but that's why
That's
Lori's
the
doing
challenge.
personal development, right?
Yeah.
Professional
Got it.
Okay.
Which I think also, I can tie back to Doug's presentation here. If you look at standard 8.2 in his presentation, we need to look at courses here because that standardized courses. We have, what he says, we have no courses in our high school that ties to this standard right here. So we're behind the 8 ball in this not meeting standard. you agree, Doug? Or?
To a degree. We have to take a look at that. I mean, we do have a number of it's really where do we assign, where do we pinpoint where those standards are being addressed, where they need to be addressed, and where are they addressed, and that way we can then better, take it to the next step. How do we best address it on a constant basis, and how do we move forward? We get pockets. We address it with these kids, but what about these kids if they don't take a certain course? That's the big question.
Thank you very much, Doug.
So maybe